Hello and welcome to Experience Recovery Conversations. This round of recovery conversations has been talking to people who have had to do things differently within the operations that they work in. And we've talked to public sector and we've talked to cancer rehab and things like that. But today we thought we'd have a conversation with a university because format and the things they've been doing seems to be quite different. So first of all, Keith, can I ask you to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do and where you do it, please.
Hi, I'm Keith Morris. I'm the head of sport at the University of York and the sporting operation at the institution, which is referenced as York Sport. And I'm also the chair of Active York within the city.
Ah, right. Okay, fantastic. And I'm also joined by Ash.
Hi, I'm Ashley Smith. I'm the senior operations manager for York Sport, primarily based at the York Sport Village.
Okay. And how old is the Sport Village, Ashley?
So we opened in 2012 as a new build, and it expanded on the campus facilities of the University of York. They previously had the York Sports Centre, which is the traditional home of sport for University of York from the 1960s. But York Sport Village was the first big expansion in 2012.
Okay, excellent. All right. So, Keith, I'm going to come to you first. Just give us an idea and a flavour of the types of things you were doing in your role before we found out about COVID and hit a lockdown.
A lot of the usual stuff that operators will resonate with operators, really. Managing a large team of doers and people who wanted to get involved and make things happen. The facility management, as Ash has referenced, across the sport village, the sports centre, and a lot of stakeholder engagement, managing the student clubs, student societies, as well as a large community groups and engagement with them. We're a university that has a strapline of being a university with civic and public good, and that's something we were largely involved with, be it through a large swim scheme, the usual balancing between the student access and the community access on pitches and halls and stuff like that. So yeah, it's quite a broad breadth of delivery and a lot of impact, and obviously that all changed in York because we found ourselves in the eye of the storm with the first cases of COVID, and literally the world changed overnight on that Friday.
Absolutely. I'll go to Ash. Ash, how did that feel? That was it, March the 19th or something, wasn't it? What did it feel like when you were told, actually, we've got to shut, we've got to close?
To be quite honest, by that point, it didn't come as much of a shock because, as Keith said, we experienced the first case of COVID in the UK back in January, and the world's media kind of descended on Heslington Hall, which is the HQ of University of York, and we kind of got an idea of what was happening at that point. You know, we were inundated through a hotline. There was quite rightly a lot of fear about what was about to come, and because of what we experienced, I think we were probably at the forefront of the thought process over social distancing and what this could mean. Obviously, you'd never want to shut your facilities, and we were, as many people were, keeping an eye on the 5 o'clock news briefings every day. But it didn't come as a huge shock. It probably kind of the biggest shock was that it took as long as it did because, as I say, we were starting to roll out a lot of the protocols that have become commonplace since the first lockdown in those weeks immediately after the first case was announced.
All right. You were really early adopters, effectively, of those control measures, which was really positive to hear. Keith, universities have become located. You know, my daughter went to university. She came out a different person. It wasn't necessarily the qualification; it was the lifestyle that she experienced, and that whole thing around the student experience is so valuable. But sport plays a big part in that, doesn't it? So, how did you manage to sort of maintain engagement with your students and with those participants over the lockdown periods?
We worked very closely with the Students' Union. So York University Students' Union were instrumental from a sports side of things. We tried to engage the sports clubs through the sports president as much as we could. We have a large varsity every year, the massive Roses competition versus Lancaster. We kept that online, and we kept comms with the clubs through the union. The university, from early doors, from the Vice Chancellor downwards, it was very much, this is people focused, look after yourselves, look after your families, look after each other. And that was the that was a real positive die that was cast at. That's the way we're working. It's people first, look after welfare. We started very quickly engaging on, as Ash has mentioned in numerous meetings, about having online engagement, keeping in touch with people, surveying the members, welfare calls to our club societies and our members, find out how people were doing and what it was that was going to keep them engaged. It was a real challenge, but it's something that the staff warmed to. I mean, obviously we had a lot of staff on furlough pretty quickly as well, but keeping in touch with them, making sure they were okay. So it was all about just putting the hours on the phone. And Zooms can be tiresome, but at the same time, if that's the chance that someone that's living on their own is going to have a chance to have a chat with you, that was gold, to be honest.
No, absolutely. Ashley, I follow you on social media, so I've seen quite a lot of the posting that you put out, and I recall a picture. I think it was in a reception area of thousands and thousands of bags all laid out on the floor. What were you up to? What was the team doing?
Yeah, so the one of the things that we realised very quickly as a university was that there was a large number of students that were having to isolate in the accommodation, and this is one of the things that kind of became a bit of an image in the media, was that these students were out there, they weren't doing as they were told. But actually what happened was that a lot of them just got caught up in the fact that they were isolated through one single case within their household. So there were one single case, and there were 8 to 15 people that were locked down for a number of weeks. And students at our accommodation, they're mainly first year students, so therefore it's the first time that they've been away from their families and friends and their social networks. They haven't had that opportunity to build the social networks that they would usually do through institutions and sports teams, and they were struggling. So what we decided to do as an institution was to try and support them, give them a bit of something to look forward to. And we started what we refer to as Lockdown Loot, which was basically a call to arms through the departments, through the university. What could everybody bring? So the supermarkets, the catering teams, the print and design, ourselves as sport, what could we do? So we were basically bringing together goodies like game sets, baking kits, food parcels, things that you would probably kind of have on a cinema night on a weekend. So Haribo's, box of Pringles to share. And we basically kind of packed up as many as we could over the course of the week to distribute out to the students that were locked down into campus. So I think over the course of about 4 weeks, we packed somewhere in the region of 12,000 bags of stuff, usually around about 3,000 bags a week. And we just, like he said, we were very people focused. We just tried to kind of make it happen. So yeah, we had a conveyor belt of staff, and we packed away.
That's fantastic.
I've never seen so many Pringles in my life.
So what I found interesting was I work with a couple of universities at the moment, and Portsmouth, things like that. And one of the challenges they had with the international students, which of course are so important to not only the revenue streams of the universities, but also the education that these people receive from our brilliant universities. How did you temper any of those contents because of the international students, Keith? Did you have to find different products, or did everybody get the same thing?
Well, we working through our graduate student association, the GSA, we have and the university, because a lot of this was, if not directed, there was full involvement from the university. We knew what might be of interest. So this week, for example, Chinese New Year, there's origami sets gone out so they can make the Year of the Ox and stuff like that. Yeah. And ahead of Christmas time, the students that were still remaining, we knew who was vegan, who was vegetarian, who had special requirements. And there was with Morrison's, there was a full, a great big box of a whole Christmas meal for a family of 4 or the wholes or whatever were going out there. That was a challenge. That was a challenge. But the plus side of it was on a Friday morning at various sites across campus, particularly the Chinese students that were coming in, the 1s and 2s come through, and you're face to face, which is what people are missing. You were checking on how they were doing.
Mhm.
You know, oh yes, we've had COVID in our house, it's all gone now, whatever. And you could have that interaction, and then if there was anything came up from those conversations, you could direct and almost advise accordingly to where the support was in the university.
Yeah, I love that personalisation agenda. I think that is so strong, and it's one of the things that I think we're going to get better at as we come out of the post-COVID world. So, Ashley, you talked about your teams pulling together and things like that. It must be really nice managing a team of really well qualified, competent, flexible people, because I guess you were just farming them out to departments within the university during lockdown.
Yeah, so we still are to a certain degree. We've been supporting various departments throughout the university, and the advantage of having the staff that we've employed is that they are people that want to go and help. You know, naturally they want to go and help wherever they can. They don't want to be stuck at home. You know, they during the first lockdown, many of them kind of exhausted the Netflix archives, and they want to get out and they want to help. So we have had them across multiple departments. We've had them doing things that they probably didn't sign up for. They probably never expected to do. None of us did. But we've been stacking shelves. We've been cleaning halls of accommodation. We've been serving meals on the catering lines. We've had them out and about, you know, supporting where the university needed it, because that's what we do. You know, we try and make things happen, and thankfully we've got a workforce that, you know, does want to make things happen, are adaptive. You know, they have got them skills that will align to some of them jobs. So, you know, they've got them personality skills. They're used to dealing with customers. So yes, they've been really good in kind of acclimatizing to what has been a very short notice turnaround. And, you know, today, for instance, we've been asked again to provide more staff for cleaning accommodation. And, you know, the calls that we've made is, you know, we're so appreciative to just have something to look forward to. And that's been the attitude, thankfully, for the majority.
Brilliant. Look, Keith, we've got a couple of minutes left. So what I'm really interested in, what's the biggest thing you think you've learned through this process that you'll take forward into a post-COVID world?
I already knew I had a very committed and quality team of staff. That's just been endorsed all the way throughout this process. What I learned, communication is absolute key to everything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Where I think one of our strengths was with our own team, our students, and our outlying customers, it was just be honest. If things aren't great, say it as it is. You know, if we're struggling to get the comms out, so be it. That's where we're at the minute. I think in this pandemic, and people understood there was unprecedented, to use the word that's often used, issues that were going on. So there was a bit more understanding than there probably would be. I think that would be the one. Just be honest, be transparent with people, and understand where you're. You know, if you do have any weaknesses, recognize them for what they are, because that's the only way you're going to build on them if we're going to be fit for the future.
Absolutely.
I think that the other thing from a staffing point of view is we'll need to move forward. We need to be agile and flexible in the way that we've demonstrated with other departments. We've shown our hand now. We can do that, and we can. That's the way we need to work, both across sports centres, sport village, different departments. We can't just be siloed into, oh, I'm an administrator on swimming. Well, no, you're an administrator. You can help across. You've got many talents. Use them. This is a chance to develop individuals as well as the business, and we're going to need that, because I think there's going to be huge demand coming back. But at the same time, working on those people skills, the empathy you need to show with people, because people are nervous to leave their houses. People are nervous to get back into the swing of things, and there'll be others who will want to rush at it. And it's managing expectations, but doing it for the right reason.
Brilliant. I bet this doesn't happen very often, Ash. You've got 30 seconds left, so because Keith's given you a bit of space. What would you say? What's your biggest learning point from this whole experience?
I think Keith hit most of the points on the head, but certainly in terms of kind of my operational remit is thinking about kind of the long-term development and not thinking within the four walls anymore. Okay. You know, we've been so used in the past to kind of thinking about kind of spaces and how to utilize them spaces. Now we're actually thinking about, well, those spaces aren't available anymore, or they're less capacity. So how do we make things happen? So it is about that adapting to your surroundings and circumstances, and thinking outside the box. You've got to be creative and just keep doing what we do best, which is look after people.
Brilliant. That's a really nice sentiment to end on. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for what you're doing in the environment up there in Leeds as well. So, sorry, in York. Why did I think Leeds? Yeah. And I don't edit, so that mistake is staying. Right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Take care, and we'll catch up.